Hey guys, Sabrina here. And as I was doing my Bible reading the other day, I came across the story of Joseph. And for those of you who don't know, just a little quick brief background on Joseph. So Joseph, he was the son of Jacob, and Jacob had many sons. It was like 12 in total, and he was the 11th son. So he was his father's favorite son. So the reason that his father loved him, I'm not gonna go too much into detail, but because he was young and innocent and just, like a good kid, he was the second to last kid. And so his father showed him a lot of favor amongst all his other brothers. Therefore, his brothers were very, very angry and very jealous of him. So they plotted to kill him one day. And but then in the midst of them plotting to kill him, instead they threw him inside of a well. And then rather than, getting blood on their hands, another one of the brothers actually decided to sell him off into slavery instead. So they sold him to slavery, and then a man named Potiphar, which was a very rich and powerful Egyptian, he is the one that actually purchased Joseph as a slave. And so while he was in Potiphar's house, he was a very hardworking man, just very dedicated, and just had so much tenacity in everything that he did. And the Bible also mentions that he was very handsome and good looking. So he did his job well. Therefore, he found favor in Potiphar's eyes once again. So then something happened where Potiphar's wife, she tried to come on to Joseph and try to get him to sleep with her. He wasn't trying to have it. He was like, no, he had too much respect for himself, God, as well as Potiphar, that he rejected her. So therefore she screamed and ripped off a piece of his clothing, and he ran away. Then she made up this lie, told her husband that he tried to sleep with her and blah 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 blah, and ran away. Then Potiphar threw him in jail because of course he's going to believe his wife over Joseph. Then when that happens, he's in prison right now, and then he finds favor in the warden's eyes. Now, do you guys see, where I'm kind of going with this? So everywhere that Joseph went, he was favored. That speaks very, very big volumes, because you can be favored in one area of your life, and you can be favored by one person in your life. But for you to be favored in almost every walk of life that you are in, that's very, very powerful. That says a lot about you. And it's not to say that Joseph was just this perfect man and he was just so wonderful and everything about him, he was just, self-made and just amazing from the beginning. No, he was favored. So what happens when somebody's favored? You can't really be the one favoring yourself. Someone has to be the one favoring you, right? So therefore the power isn't up to you. So you see where I'm going with this? Like, a way that I can break it down is, okay, if you're being favored, that means that someone else is the one that is noticing things about yourself. Someone else is the one that is seeing something special in you, sometimes something that you don't even see in yourself. And so it's very powerful when we see ourselves going through different walks of life, and we're seeing that we're favored in certain areas, whether in your athletic abilities, they're just like, wow, this kid, he's a superstar, like he's such a great talent. Maybe it's in maybe it's at your job, you're just such a great employee, like you just work really, really hard. It could be maybe you're just favored wherever you're serving, at your church or at your organization or whatever it is that you're doing. Like, you can be favored in any and everything in life. And it's very important for us to recognize that favor. That's number one. And to recognize that if you're favored, that means that someone is favoring you. And most times than none, it's really actually God that's favoring you. I mean, other people can favor you, but who is it that equipped you with whatever special abilities, whatever that extra thing is that people see in you? It's God, so you have to recognize that favor doesn't come from you. You weren't just bought here, and just the way that you are, you weren't just put on here like magic. You were actually sculpted and molded, and God put a little bit something extra in all of us. So when he put a little something extra in you and a little something extra in me, we all have our different measures of uniqueness, and we have to be grateful for that. So once you recognize that you are favored in an area of your life, then you also have to be very, very grateful for that favor, because it doesn't mean that somebody else isn't gifted in whatever it is that you're gifted in. It just means that there's a little bit something extra about you. You're different, you know, like someone sees something different in you, and you will see the patterns in your life everywhere you go. Every time you do something, like you'll always get that look from people. And then so oftentimes when people don't know what it is that, you know, that's so special about you, and they're like, wow, there's something special about this person, or, you know, this person has something different about them, but I just don't know what. I can't quite put my finger on it. So a lot of times people will test you, right? But not like in a bad way. You know, it might be at your job that they give you more responsibility. It might be you know, they're trying to find out, maybe somebody is seeking you, they're, you know, interested in you, like, wow, this girl, she's really special, she's really different, like they're gonna want to get to know you. Or this guy, he's really dope, like there's something about him, I don't really know what it is yet, but you know, I want to get to know him. So people will put themselves in a predicament to find out what it is that you have, what it is that you possess, like what it is about you that sticks out. So when you see that you're getting more pressure at your job, when you see you're getting more workload, when you see that you're doing things that a new person like you or an unexperienced person like you is doing, and you're handling things, just take it as an opportunity for you to be able to showcase your talent and your gifts, the gifts that God gave you, because it is because of his favor that was put upon you. So it's one thing when, you know, Joseph's dad, who's Jacob, when he favored him, because you could just have a favorite son or whatever. But then when he gets favored by Potiphar, also, that was big, because you're a slave. And then it was to the point where Potiphar favored him and loved him so much that he put him in charge of everything. Like Potiphar didn't even have to look over his shoulder. He didn't have to worry about anything, because Joseph just took care of everything so well. Like he was the chief in command. He ran everything well. And then even when he got sent off to prison, you would think that his favor ran out and his luck, you know, ran out. But actually, no. Like he actually found favor in the prison warden. The prison warden put him in charge of all the other prisoners, put him in charge of everything else that he had to do. And the prison warden was just chilling. Like Joseph was just running the show. Like he was just that guy. And all of this is not to say, again, that Joseph was just so magnificent and that he was just so spectacular. No, it's because God put a gift inside of him. And, you know, also I forgot to mention that his gift was, he was a dreamer. You know, he could interpret dreams. He has dreams. And you could have a dream and you not understand what it means. You go to him and he'll interpret it for you. Like he'll tell you what it means and, you know, what it symbolizes. That's very, very powerful. So while others will be jealous and envious of you, you have to still remember that this gift is not from you. So that, again, will create an atmosphere of humility for you, because once you recognize that this gift didn't come from you, you didn't come up with this gift, you didn't make this gift on your own, it wasn't some magic potion that, you know, you discovered, and, you know, you're not the one that's favoring yourself. Because oftentimes, like I mentioned before, we don't even see the things in ourselves that other people see in us, like the greatness within us, until we're repeatedly being told, wow, you have this and you have that, no, you're special, no, you're that. So, you know, it creates an atmosphere for humility to be able to grow and flourish. So you have to really, really take advantage of that opportunity to be humble, to recognize that, yo, this is amazing. This is like a superpower that I have, in a way, if you really want to look at it that way. Like, this favor is an opportunity for me to showcase the God that I have in me. Again, this is not about religion. This is not about what you believe or who you serve, but we all believe in some God and we all believe in some higher power. So you have to recognize that, look, this gift was given to me, and now I have to be able to walk with this gift and to be able to bless other people with it. Like, it's not just for you and for you to keep. Now, the second part of this discussion that I want to talk about is now when you have this gift, when you have this abundant amount of favor over your life. You're almost untouchable. I mean, you are touchable because you're gonna go through a lot. I mean, just because you're favored, it doesn't mean that you're exempt from going through hardship. Because as I said, he was sold by his own family, his own flesh and blood, into slavery. And right before he was sold, they were planning to kill him. They were gonna kill him. It was by the grace of God. Again, that's another act of favor, because they could have literally killed him, but something stopped them. Like, it was just the covering, God's covering upon his life, that was just like, okay, rather than killing him, one of the brothers decided to sell him off to slavery instead. Now, he went through that, and then he was a slave. Now, just because he found favor in the eyes of Potiphar, it doesn't mean that, everything was all peaches and rainbows for him. Like, everything was not cool. I mean, the Bible doesn't go into too much detail, like how his life was, whatever, but they mainly just focused on the main key highlights. But you can use your imagination and just think, when you're first sold into slavery, if you yourself were sold into slavery, before you can gain favor in the eyes of your master or anybody, you're gonna go through some hell. And then when you get sent to prison, and then when you get accused of something that you never did, especially, so you're serving time for something that you didn't even do. And everybody in prison or everybody around you knows you for this guy that you're really not, knows you for this criminal because of this lie that was made up about you. So you're in prison, and before you can actually gain the advantage from the prison warden, you're gonna go through some hell. So even through all of that, yes, he was untouchable in the sense, like, nothing could actually kill him. Nothing could actually, take away his power. But he was broken down. At some point, he was broken down. I mean, he was living with a lot of, bitterness and animosity towards his brothers. And it was later on, when he came across his brothers, that he actually, found the courage to be able to forgive them. And, they didn't even recognize him when they saw him. So anyway, that's another story for another day. You guys can actually find this story in the book of Genesis, the story of Joseph. And so it's just really cool. So as I was saying, with the second part of, this discussion, like, when you recognize that you do have this abundance amount of favor, and you're basically like a walking magnet, you're just attracting, like, everything attached to you is great. Everything, that is around you is blessed because of the favor that is on you. And I just found that so dope, because God literally will bless the things that are around you because of you. When you're favored by him, and when you're serving his purpose, like, literally, he will bless other things just because you're in the room. He will bless other people just because you're attached to them. Like, I don't know about you, but that's just like, that's so relieving to me, knowing that, okay, I'm not keeping this favor, these blessings to myself. Just by you being around me, you're being impacted by the blessings that God is putting upon my life, just because I'm connected to you. And sometimes there are certain people in your life that, they're just blessed, and you reap the benefits of those blessings because you're attached to them. And the same thing, vice versa. So it's really, really cool when you see that, when God stretches his favor out to us, and he doesn't just reserve it for us alone. He makes sure that whatever else that we're surrounded with get touched, get blessed as well. So that's just like, that really stood out to me a lot. But then also we have to be very careful, because with all of that always comes a lot of temptation. And a lot of times the temptation comes in many, many forms. Just as you see that Pharaoh's own wife tried to come on to him. And then when he rejected her, then she tried to, scream like rape. Like, it was so crazy, and it's to the point where he ended up in prison. So you have to be careful not to stay somewhere for too long past your destiny. Whatever it is that you were sent to do, whatever job you were sent to do, whatever work you were sent to do, you got to make sure that you go in and you get out as quick as possible. Because favor is not what's going to hold you up your whole entire life. You got to put in work. You got to use your brain. You got to have wisdom. You got to know when enough is enough. You got to know when it's time to go. You got to know when it's time to stop. Like, you can't stay in one place for too long. You're not going to survive off of God's favor alone. You have to work. You have to go through the process. You have to have a lot of perseverance. So it's kind of like a leech. A leech will attach itself to you, but you don't want that leech to stay attached to you. The moment that a leech attaches itself to you, you got to try to get that sucker off. because it's just gonna suck up all your blood. So when people see that you have this abundance of favor, whether they recognize it as favor or not, they just see that you have something great, or you're just a cool person to be around. It's just something different about you. You got to be careful, because everybody attached to you is not good for you. You got to know when it's your time to step out, no matter how it'll make you look. It might make you look stuck up. It might make you look like, oh, you switched up and you changed, or you this, or you think you better than me, whatever. Don't worry about all of that. Just shut out all of that noise and know when it's your time to go, because you don't want any leeches attaching themselves to you, and then it strips you of your power, it strips you of your favor. So now when you're left with nothing, what do? You have nothing left to give. We have to be very, very, very careful not to get so consumed with whatever it is that we were gifted with whatever it is that we have, whatever it is that we possess, that we get lost in our own sauce. Like, I know it sounds kind of corny, but we get lost in whatever it is that we've been blessed with, that we've been gifted with. You got to know when it's your time to take flight, when it's your time to go. Do not stay in the same place past your fulfillment, past your expiration date. So it's something to really think about, because we all have something special. Like I said, we're all blessed with a level of uniqueness. So don't think that just because you don't know your purpose, or just because you don't know what you want to do in life, or you haven't achieved this, that, and the third, that you're not gifted, and that, you're not favored. We're all favored in some way. You just got to be able to apply it. Because if Joseph just stayed in the prison cell and stayed in his own despondency, all depressed and complaining all the time, how would he have gotten the favor of the warden? If he was just an average slave and just like being so bitter and upset, and hung up about what his brothers did to him and was being disrespectful or whatever, there's no way he would have earned Potiphar's respect. But he worked. We got to work, people. Just having favor alone is not enough. Just being blessed alone is not enough. You got to put that blessing, put that favor into action, so God could be glad that he gave that to you, to see that you're actually multiplying it. You're actually doing something to bless the life of somebody else. So when you get that opportunity, when you see that, you got to make sure, like, you know what? All right, I may not know exactly what I'm going to do or where I'm headed, but I know that I'm just going to move. I know that I'm just going to work until my work pays off. So just, number one, of course, recognize that it is favor. It is not just a magic potion, that was given to you or that fell on you, and you're not just so great, like, you're not just self-made and you weren't just born like that. No, you were sculpted. You were handcrafted by God himself. And so because he knew he gave that to you, you got to actually, once you recognize that, you got to be grateful for it and give credit where it's due. And then you got to work. So that's all that I have for you guys today. I really, really hope that everybody can find their purpose. And it's not a race. So don't try to compete with other people and see how far you are in life and how long it's going to take for you to get to certain things. This is not a competition. This is about you fulfilling your destiny. So hopefully you guys, took whatever it is that you were able to take away out of this this conversation, and hopefully it helped to expand your mind, expand your vision, and help you to seek for your purpose. Seek for areas in your life that you are favored, that you've seen favor, areas of your life that you've seen how your blessings have impacted the life of somebody else, how it has trickled down to your family or your friends or just whoever was around you at the time. That's all I have for you guys today. Thanks.